Order. Due to the COVID-19 health emergency and in order for the Board of Education to conduct its business, this board meeting is being held via video conference and streamed live on YouTube on the district website at www.ebnet.zoom.org. In addition, members of the public may provide comment at this meeting through Zoom by entering the URL, meeting ID, and password you see before you on the screen. Upon joining the meeting, your participation will be muted to ensure that there is no disruption to the business being conducted by the Board of Education. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Carangelo. Mrs. Chu.
Here.
Mr. Sismar.
Here.
Mrs. Guas. Mr. Hong.
Here.
Mrs. Lax.
Here.
Mrs. Reese.
Here.
Mr. Winston.
Here.
President Becker.
Here, we have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
To the
to
flag
the flag
of the
of the United States
of
of America
and
and to the republic
for which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
for all. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published and posted at the Board of Education offices. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News and Tribune, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcasts, and individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll start off tonight with our superintendent's report. Dr. Valesky.
Thank you, President Becker. Good evening, everyone. On Friday, February 26th, our district nurses held a denim day to support the American Heart Association. A total of $2,305 was raised.
Excuse me, Victor, Dr. Valesky. I'm sorry, somebody needs to mute themselves. We're getting a lot of background noise. Thank you so much. Sorry, Dr. Valesky.
That's all right. I'm going to start over. On Friday, February 26th, our district nurses held a denim day to support the American Heart Association. A total of $2,305 was raised. And I'm going to go off script here for just a second. I had the chance to thank our nurses for all their work at an administrators meeting we held earlier. And I want to publicly thank our nurses and our school security officers who have been our front line throughout this entire endeavor, and they continue to be. And without them, our return to school would just be impossible. So I want to thank them all for everything they do to provide a safe and healthy environment for all of us.
Hear, hear.
Our fifth graders are participating virtually this year in the Law Enforcement Against Drugs, or LEAD program. In 2019, Officer Reggie Wright of the East Brunswick Police Department implemented the LEAD program for all fifth graders in the East Brunswick School District. The program is an unparalleled prevention, education, and character development program. The LEAD program plants the seeds of a healthy living and eating lifestyle. The curriculum used for the program, developed by the Mendez Foundation, is called Too Good for Drugs. This evidence-based skill building program makes a positive impact on the students, teachers, parents, and the entire community. The 10-week program consists of 10 lessons. The first 5 lessons are skill development, and the second 5 lessons are skill application. Just a reminder, once again, schools will be closed for spring break Monday, March 29th through Friday, April 2nd. And this is coming from the New Jersey Travel Advisory, and one that we have stated previously. If you travel overnight to any U.S. state or territory beyond the immediate region, and the immediate region is defined as the state of New York, the state of Pennsylvania, the state of Delaware, and the state of Connecticut, you will be required to quarantine from school for 10 calendar days after your return. Evidence of a negative COVID test, proof of a vaccine, or proof of a positive COVID test result in recovery within the past 90 days cannot be accepted as a substitute for the mandatory 10-day quarantine. And this is being driven by multiple COVID variants emerging outside of New Jersey and the fear of the Department of Health that they be brought back in the borders of the state. For our staff, if you plan to travel, you must contact Human Resources in advance of your departure with dates, destination, and travel documents. Human Resources will advise those staff who have voluntarily elected to travel. Compliance with the 10-day calendar quarantine is mandatory to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in East Brunswick schools. If you plan to travel to any state outside of New Jersey and return the same day with no overnight stay, you do not need to quarantine if you are symptom-free. I'm going to say that one more time. If you travel to any state outside of New Jersey and return the same day with no overnight stay, you will not have to quarantine if you remain symptom-free. And students who elect to travel under all the aforementioned conditions will be required to participate virtually and cannot come into their school buildings before they fulfill the 10-day required quarantine. So some of you are asking, why is this so important? And this goes to what I communicated earlier today. Based on a really strong assumption that the CDC will relax recommendations for distancing in school settings before April 19th, I am planning to return pre-K to 12 students for families who select it to school 5 days session format beginning Monday, April 19th, which is the first day of the fourth marking period. The impact of spring break travel, COVID infection, and close contact quarantines, along with the final classroom distancing recommendations and requirements that may be in effect before our forecasted implementation, will be driving our decision. But be assured that returning students to school 5 days a week remains one of the school board's and my top priorities if we can accomplish it safely. The learning model form for the fourth marking period will be open and parent access to change selections for every student on Monday. That's next Monday, March 22nd at 3 p.m. And the learning model form will close next Friday, March 26th at 3 p.m. And all those changes will go into effect Monday, April 19th, the first day of the marking period. And this is your last opportunity to make a selection for a change in the learning model for this school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Valesky. So just to clarify for our parents, if their child is currently in the full remote model, but they would like to return them to the hybrid for the 5 day a week single session, they will have an opportunity to do that next week and vice versa.
Absolutely. If you don't do anything, so if your child is currently in our hybrid learning model and don't do anything, they are going to be moved to our in-person instruction model 5 days a week. If you do not want your hybrid student to go to school 5 days a week and would rather they stay home in the virtual environment, you'll need to go into the learning model selection form and pick the virtual option. Otherwise, if you are currently virtual, you want to remain virtual, you don't have to do anything. But if you're virtual and you would like your child or children to come back to school 5 days a week, you'll need to select that change in the learning model form.
Okay, and okay. Thank you,
Can I ask
Doctor.
a question?
Sure.
Just for clarification, because I've heard two different things. If the students are going to be in school for the 5 days and a student either isn't feeling well or for whatever reason is virtual for a day or remote for a day, do they still call in or is their attendance noted when they show up online?
We're going to treat attendance as if, students who are attending the 5 day a week in-person model, we are going to follow our attendance policy. So we're not going to give students the opportunity to come to school, like 3 days and decide to take a virtual day and then come back. It'll be normal, parent, excuses for medical conditions or appointments or things like that, just as if everybody was in school.
Okay. Now, but my question, of course, they want to be in there, but I'm saying so the kid wakes up, isn't feeling well. The beautiful thing is now normally we'd keep them home from school if they have a fever or something like that.
Right.
So it used to be if your kid signed in, they were in attendance. So you're saying if they're on the 5 day, that a parent would have to notify the school that their child is going to be doing the virtual learning?
Yeah, if they're going to be, they would have the option if they are sick. If you call in and say, my child's not feeling well today, but they feel well enough to participate in the virtual component. Talk to your child's principal, and then we'll have an arrangement. We'll figure out the details so they can move between the two. We just don't want to give the opportunity for students to say, I'm going to attend the face-to-face, person-to-person option, because we have set aside seats. We have figured everything out in terms of spacing, and then have them self-select that they're going to take a day off and go into the virtual learning model. So that is, we want parents to make that selection up front. We want students to comply with that selection. And obviously, if there's an issue with illness, an appointment, some other family issue, just as we normally would during the school,
Back the normal way. Great.
then that just communicate with the building. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Thank you, Dr. Valesky.
Absolutely.
So the next item on our agenda is a tentative budget presentation for fiscal year 2022. I just want to remind the board, the tentative budget adoption is one stop, if you will, along the process that is the budget development. It is a tentative adoption required by the state by a certain date. However, we are continuing to develop the budget and make changes right through we finally approve it in May. So tonight, what you are adopting is literally a tentative budget that we are working from. So please don't feel that if you vote to adopt the tentative budget, whatever you vote on tonight, we are tied to. Again, we still have the opportunity. I know the Finance Committee will be meeting a lot. Things will be brought to the full board. We still have the opportunity to make changes right through May. So without any further ado, Bernie, can I assume that you're going to be doing the presentation?
Yes. Thank you,
Okay.
Mrs. Becker, and good evening, everyone. This is the first stop on the path, as Mrs. Becker noted, toward an adoption of the budget. This tentative budget will begin with a review of state aid. So what you see before you is a historical chart of state aid and what has happened over the years. We received an increase in state aid for next year, which is attributed to two things. One is enrollment, specifically to support increases in enrollment, and implementing the state funding formula, which is embedded in the law. For many years, as I think we can see from this chart, the state has not followed implementing the law for funding schools. The last 2 years, they have begun to implement that. I think one of the things that's important to note is for the years, beginning with the year that we dropped off in fiscal year 2011, that was a year that we had very significant cuts in the district. We had lost 100 positions, lost a recognized world language program. The charter school was first instituted. And from that point forward, for many years, state aid remained virtually flat. If we use 2010 as the benchmark and were to say, well, what if that 2010 benchmark had remained at the same level through those years? The state would have provided an additional $22.3 million just to keep level funding at that point in time. So the district has had to shoulder a significant amount of the funding and has struggled over the years with how to best provide the programs and services to students. When we jump forward to 2021, you'll see that there are two bars listed. The first bar in blue reflects the original state aid on which the board adopted a final budget. However, due to the pandemic, the governor had a second budget that came forth with making modifications. And those modifications took effect in July after a final budget was adopted. And as a result, what happened was state aid was reduced by close to $2 million after we had adopted a budget. And so what the board had to do at that time was fill the gap. And that gap was filled through one-time revenue sources as well as some reductions in cost areas. So I think that's an important anomaly because that is something that is very easily forgotten. And our real jump off point from the current year was at $22.2 million. Moving forward, let's talk about the budget impacts. So what has impacted the overall growth in the budget? So one of the things is the custodial and transportation savings that we had from COVID-19. In balancing the budget for fiscal 21, we anticipated savings of approximately $940,000 that went to offset the budget and provide additional funding. That was a one-time occurrence. That is not a reoccurring level of funding, and so that no longer exists moving forward. When we look at then on the next level, the enterprise revenue. Our enterprise revenue has been very low, if even at all existent, during this period of time. However, we are anticipating some enterprise revenue into next year's budget. However, the differential is approximately $790,000. So that is a detriment to fulfilling the bottom line. When we look at our ongoing costs, collective bargaining and contractual salary commitments, that's an increase of approximately $2.59 million. Health benefits projected at a net increase of approximately $200,000. Transportation services at approximately $340,000 increase. Facilities maintenance, approximately $560,000 increase. Charter schools at $420,000 increase. And insurance overall at approximately a $100,000 increase. These various budget impacts equal approximately $6 million. In terms of charter school, I think it's also very important to note, and I usually bring this up whenever we talk about budget, but I think it's extremely important to note the impact that charter schools have had upon the district's budget. This chart reflects the history going back to 2009 of the annual appropriations that are mandated by the state that the district must set aside to pay for charter schools. In 2011, that was a significant impact to the district with the opening of the charter school in town. Since that time, you see an ever increasing amount of money that is allocated to the charter school. So even in times when there may have been slight increases in state aid, most of that money was going toward the charter school. Overall, since 2011 through the current budget for 2022, the district has appropriated mandatorily $29.2 million toward the charter school. That is money that has come out of the taxpayers' pockets, and that is to fund a charter school. And as we've said many times, a charter school that's simply not required in this town, not with the cadre of educational opportunity that we have in our district. The tentative budget is at $170.7 million. It is in balance at this point in time. It represents approximately a 3.79% increase over the original budget for fiscal 21. The general fund tax increase is almost $2.6 million. The debt service fund taxes will be reduced for next year. resulting in a net tax increase and a composite increase of 1.69%. Key budget dates. The public hearing on the budget is set for May 7th. Final adoption of the budget, May 15th. I remind the board that no later than the public hearing may any changes to the budget be made. That is the final opportunity for the announced changes, if there were to be any. And of course, as we always do, we will make all budget materials available on the district website. I anticipate that those will be posted, I would say by Monday at the latest. And here's the information where that information will be available. And that concludes the introduction of the tentative budget, which the board will be voting upon this evening.
Bernie, why you still have the screens up? Oops,
Yes. No,
you're
that's okay.
faster than I am. I had a question on, I believe it was a second screen, budget impacts. It was a list of budget impacts.
Yes.
Thank you. These are things that are affecting the budget now, not projections for the next fiscal year, correct?
These are items that bring us to the differential on from this year to next year. So I know that there may have been some questions regarding the increase in state aid and the increase in taxes, but when we tally up these various components, these components tally up to essentially the different what that dollar amount comes out to.
So when you say that transportation services is increasing 340,000, that is from the next fiscal year to this current year?
Yes.
And is that because we really had decreased service this year?
No, it is. We are looking at increases in costs for contracted services. This is strictly looking at contracted services, which will likely go up, I'd say roughly 2%, perhaps a little less than 2%.
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to figure out that number. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
If you wouldn't mind putting us back in gallery view, and I'm gonna open for any questions. Anybody, any board members have any questions at this time? I don't see anybody. Okay. Thank you very much, Bernie. A lot of things to consider and think about. The budget book is online, Bernie?
It will be online by Monday.
Okay, so yeah, lots of homework to do. Okay.
But it is available to all the board members. The board members do have that information, by the way.
Yes, we still have a lot of homework to do, whether we do it today, Monday. It's a lot to take in, a lot of decisions coming. Thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. And that brings us to the good of the cause of the public. Members of the public may provide comment at this meeting through Zoom by entering the URL, meeting ID, and password provided before you on the screen. In order to be recognized, use the chat feature, select the Zoom meeting host, and enter and send your name to the host. You will be recognized to speak when your name is called, and individuals will be invited to speak in the order in which we have received your request. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period for public comment at every meeting of the board, and participants will be limited to 3 minutes duration. Is there anyone wishing to address the board?
We do not have anyone waiting in the queue.
Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public portion. Moving on to our agenda tonight. We have one item on our curriculum agenda. Can I please have a motion for item number 1, Contract Institute for Multisensory Education?
So moved.
Moved by Lori, second by Lebu. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. There's an echo. Again, I'm going to urge anyone at home who's watching to please make sure that you are on mute. Thank you. Moving on to our facilities agenda, there is one item. Can I please have a motion for certificate of substantial completion? Say that 3 times fast.
So moved.
Moved by Lori,
Second.
second by Liwu. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Moving on to our financial services, can I please have a motion to combine items 1 through 10?
So moved.
Moved by Lori,
Second.
second by Heather. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. We have one item on our food services agenda. Contract addendum, R-Mark Services. Can I please have a motion for this?
So moved.
Moved by Lori, second by
Second.
Barbara. Is there any discussion? Barbara, was that a wave? A
It
motion?
was a second. It was a
A
second.
second, no question? Okay, just want to make sure. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries. On our HR agenda tonight, we have 2 items. Can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2?
So moved.
Moved by Lori,
Second.
second by Liwu. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
and President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. For our student services agenda, can I please have a motion to combine items 1 through 5?
So moved.
Moved by Lori, second by Barbara. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. There's one item on our transportation agenda. Can I please have a motion for joint transportation agreement with Burlington County Special Services School District?
So moved, Jeff.
Moved by Jeff,
Second.
second by Liwu. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Lou, I believe our student rep is with us tonight. Is that what you had told me? Tony, so good to see you.
So nice to see you again, Ms. President Becker.
Mrs. President Becker, you can call me. You can just call me Mrs. It's okay. How are you? What's going on in our high school?
I'm very good. A lot of seniors are also very good, and a lot of students in general are just very good. The upcoming spring break always puts people in a good mood. As in terms of seniors specifically, a lot of seniors have begun committing, and it's so nice to see all of my friends get some acceptances back and start committing. And then those who haven't are awaiting decisions, which are going to be coming kind of in bulk in the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be an eventful 2 weeks for a lot of seniors. And those of you, for those who also haven't committed, a lot of them will be visiting colleges, especially if there wasn't the opportunity to visit them over the summer in this upcoming spring break. So also when they return, they have to follow the guidelines outlined by Dr. Valesky earlier in this meeting about quarantining if they visit out of state. In terms of students, not just seniors, some students are even getting vaccinated, which is exciting because that increases the chance that they'll return for the fourth quarter. And a lot of seniors are considering returning for the fourth quarter because, it's their last opportunity to be in the high school. And it's a nice opportunity, especially if we get to go in more frequently. So we get to get a little bit more face time with the teachers. And then some events are occurring virtually and in person. Two are occurring within the next 2 days, which is one of them is Science Honor Society's Trivia Night, which is a whole virtual event that's not just for EBHS students, but for middle schoolers. So it brings together all people who are interested in science, and it's nice to see that virtual event occur. And then International Club is also hosting Clash of Cultures, which is just another event to highlight our diversity. And then in terms of in-person events, everyone's always excited about prom. Dresses are being bought, as the details slowly and gradually roll out, people get more and more excited. So that's nice to see. And it's nice because we're kind of returning more and more every day to normalcy. And especially if we have like a May 1st deadline of people getting vaccinated, then it's nice to see everyone just get back to normal.
May I ask, without sounding intrusive, if you have received an acceptance and made a decision yet, or no?
I haven't made a decision, but I have received a few acceptances. Most of my decisions are coming within the next 2 weeks. So a lot of colleges say late March and early April. But yeah, I have a few acceptances, and I'm still waiting on a lot of schools. Though. The bulk of my schools, I would say about 75%, are coming in mid-late March.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that you certainly get good news. And I have to give you and all your fellow students, not just in the high school, the entire district, so much credit for you for coming up here to our meetings and being cheerful and optimistic and up and reporting. And this has taken a tremendous toll on everybody, and our students, as they always do, are resilient and rise to the occasion. I'm sure you have some days that are not as good, but I just give you so much credit for accomplishing what all of you have. So that being said,
President Becker, could I say one thing? Tony, I just want to pass on to your classmates, the senior class, my sincere appreciation for being so resilient this year. And, it's a year we cannot replicate. But as we approach the end of the year, we're going to make our best efforts to try to make the remainder of your senior year as memorable as we can. And I think we're all committed to that. But a lot of credit goes to you, your families, for being so resilient, and every East Brunswick family, every East Brunswick student. But our seniors, we're going to send them off at graduation on the football field. And so I just wanted to send my congratulations on your accomplishments, your class accomplishments. And I can't remember when I was in high school, I don't think I was waiting on a bulk of my acceptance letters. I think it was probably just a couple, not a bulk, So congratulations to you.
Thank you, Dr. Valesky.
Dr. Valesky, I know I'm putting you on the spot a little here, but is there anything that you're able to share with us at this point about plans for the seniors for the rest of the year, or you'd rather wait until you have more details?
I can share with you that we are planning to have graduation on our football field, and I think that was kind of revealed through board actions previously. There are a number of other activities we're still working out the details on and making sure that we are can comply with the governor's directives and executive orders at that time. We expect there probably will be some changes forthcoming even before we dismiss for spring break, and certainly after we come back from spring break. So as we have more definitive plans, we'll be sure to share with the community and with the board. But graduation is assured that we're going to be on our football field for this year.
I was a little intrigued when Tony mentioned dresses are being ordered for the prom.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you are.
I just
we are planning, but President
curious.
Becker, I think you alluded to the fact that you were planning to go to any said prom in your former prom attire. And
That's
then I
true.
I watched Tony's face contort, and I thought that was cruel.
Thank you so much for that reminder of my faux pas, Dr. Valesky. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I can tell you, my tux went back to the place I rented it from, and I never saw it again.
Yes, I'm sure they had tuxes back then, but I suppose something similar. Anyway, I actually wasn't asking about me. I was just curious if there were any details you could share with the prom, or they haven't been finalized yet.
They are still being worked on.
Okay. Thank you. And by the way, I'm going with Lou, so Tony, relax. Okay. On to committee reports, information items, and for the good of the cause for the board. Anybody have anything for us tonight? I'm looking. I don't see hands raised, thumbs raised. So I'm going to assume no. Jeff, how's the finance committee going?
We've been living it every week. We've had right here on the board. What more words can one add than what we've seen in the last, I don't know, Bernie, 6 meetings relevant to that list. What I will say is that the process has been very enlightening, and the work of each department that is done, staying on point with budget, with all of the challenges that Mr. Giuliani mentioned, and coming up with the budget that they did, with the things that go in that budget, the tangible things. I absolutely, I'm in awe of the work of each department and the presentations that they gave, concise, on point, and the product, what was brought then to the board, stands for my statement. You saw what they did, and I heard it so definitely a big shout out to that crew, and nicely done.
Thank you, Jeff. I particularly mentioned finance because I wanted to toot the board's horn for a minute. I don't know if the public realizes, yes, we meet every other Thursday, but this board spends a tremendous amount of time in committees, particularly something like the Finance Committee, which meets almost once a week between January and May. And I tip my hat to all of you. Just your efforts and your dedication and commitment to this district is incredible. And the amount of time you're all giving is incredible. So thank you. So if nobody has anything else, we do have a need for a closed session. The Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting. And these subjects that we intend to discuss are as follows. Those items listed in tonight's agenda. The length of the closed session is estimated to be 1 hour, after which a public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will not be taken. Can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Moved by Lori.
Second.
Second by Heather Leewu. Heather by a nose. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you for joining us tonight. Board members, please log out of this meeting and log into closed session. Good night, Tony. Thanks again for joining us.